Hey, I am back, and how's everybody? I'm Willie Bragg. Welcome to another edition of the Willie Bragg Show. You know, when you think about what's going on in the world today and the narrative that's being put by political ideologues on in the media, whether we're talking about the media that's like on television or print media, what is basically called traditional media, or whether it's the new media, which isn't really all that new anymore when we're talking about the internet. Now I'm talking about whether it's the standard internet as was called when it became the information superhighway. Remember that term back in the 1990s? Or the age of social media where we get all our shit from, I don't know, we get it from YouTube, and we get it from Twitch, and we get it from Twitter, and we get it from Facebook, we get it from LinkedIn, we get it from, all kinds of places now. And we have all kinds of echo chambers all over the damn place and all of that. So, so we're talking about the war right now between Ukraine and Russia. And as I said, I don't want to keep repeating myself. I want to make it clear. Just basically for any newcomers that will come in here to peek and want to know my position, just to say it real quick, that I am opposed to the military on all sides. Russia, I'm opposed to Russia. I'm opposed to the Ukraine. I'm opposed to NATO. I'm opposed to the U.S. I'm opposed to everybody. The only people I'm for the Ukrainian people. I am for the Russian people. I am for the people in the NATO countries. I am for the people in the United States. But I am not for any of their governments. If that will settle or put to rest my position, I hope we can go on and go forth what I need to talk about. In the last 2 decades, and it's hard to believe, but 20 years ago was like seems like yesterday. In fact, it actually seems like an hour ago sometimes. Having that said, not too long ago, we heard the terminology over and over. The terminology from what I call the nastiest administration in modern times, the Bush-Cheney presidency. The ghouls that were the architect of the Iraq war and Afghan war that basically cost trillions of dollars of debt, foreign policy failure. It did not make the world safe. There were no weapons of mass destruction. You had a part of the world that hated us even more as a result. And I will argue that the world is a hell of a lot less safe because of the bullshit because of George W. Bush, Dick Cheney, John Bolton, and all these assholes that were involved. And I'm not going to say it got better with Barack Obama. Barack Obama, basically increased the wars from basically 2 countries to 7 countries. Donald Trump basically, Donald Trump basically increased drone strikes. He murdered a general in Iran. And he was bragging in 2016 about torture, even if it doesn't work, and basically not just bombing actual terrorists, real bad guys, but actually killing the family and loved ones of the terrorists. I mean, how fucked up that is. And then, the one decent thing that Biden did was pulling the troops out of Afghanistan, which he doesn't get enough credit for, but he ruins it with troops in Somalia. And basically and it is a conspiracy theory on my part, it is, but Hillary Clinton is mad that because she really believed that Vladimir Putin put Donald Trump in the White House in 2016. And I just as I believe that the Republicans because of the evangelicals in the Republican Party, they want the United States to go and invade Iran, because that is their wet dream in the Republican Party. That's what makes the Republicans dangerous. They want to go and invade Iran. That is their big dream right there. What do you think that Donald Trump walked away from the Iran peace treaty? It was because he knew it would appease the evangelicals, and he knew it would appease the secular neocons in the party. And the secular neocons and the evangelicals have an overlap foreign policy, different reasons, but it's basically a neoconservative foreign policy, and it is a very fucked up policy at that. And with the Democrats, are they any better? Because they really believe in this Russiagate bullshit, and they're in their own way, they're wanting to cause World War III in the same way that the Republicans want to cause World War III. They want to cause World War III with Iran, and Democrats want to cause World War III with Russia. And both Democrats and Republicans, with the situation in Taiwan, may possibly want to start World War III with China. So, and I hear it from some pro-Trump people. Well, looks like the Democrats got all the neocons back, and all the Democrats and all the Republicans, we got rid of those neocons. No. It is true that some of the neocons did not like Trump, and they tiptoed into the Democratic Party. That's true. That's very true. The Lincoln Project people, some of the more moderate people in the neoconservative movement, maybe some of the more rhino Republicans, maybe even some fairly conservative Republicans even, that did not like Trump. They loved his policies, but they did not like him. Some of them for different reasons. The Never Trumper brand. These people, they hated him so bad that many of them went to the Democratic Party or went third party, or even in 2020, if they voted for Trump because they liked the foreign policy. I mean, they like the foreign policy and the economic policy and all that shit. They just didn't like his bad manners and his mean tweets. So, and the Trump derangement syndrome kind of fucked everybody in the head across the spectrum. So it almost looks like that the Republican Party has discovered a sort of a born again isolationism. And even though I am not exactly an isolationist, if they were actually being for isolationism as a dub, I could live with that, but I don't buy it. But long gone are the days when I was going to anti-war rallies every other weekend. At least when Donald Trump became president, I was thinking, well, maybe they'll go pounding the streets again because they got quiet and content under Obama. And for some reason, they just never did get back into protesting against the wars, because the wars kind of remain. They did kind of remain. Now, I would say that maybe there was maybe a little bit less war, even though the drone strikes were on the increase. And it was a combination, and Glenn Greenwald touched upon this in an interview. And Glenn Greenwald's not perfect these days, but he's still correct to bring out this point that while there might have been possibly less war during the Trump years, is a combination of these factors. And the factors would basically include things like basically people hating Trump, and Trump being, kind of clashing with people in his administration. The establishment and Trump, butting heads, causing a lot of dysfunction. Basically the opposition, the Democrats, hating on Trump and fighting him every step of the way in one area or another. So there's a lot of chaos, a lot of dysfunctionality. And so in some ways, Trump's hands were kind of tied. And so because of it, you could almost say that this dysfunctionality might have been a blessing in disguise. It's the way I would see it. But well, let me continue and with my point. But there was a consensus at one time, a very positive consensus, even during the Bush years. But they were unfortunately on the fringes, and and for some folks, if some of y'all are a little bit too young to remember this, but I would be glad to refresh some memories here. Everybody knows who Ron Paul is, I'm sure. I don't agree with the economic libertarianism, but I respect Ron Paul. He's not wrong on everything. I mean, he's correct on quite a few things. I just don't like his economics and maybe a few other social issues, but he's correct on a lot of foreign policy. And the Republicans love his bad, shitty ideas. They just never liked his foreign policy. And it's amazing how when libertarianism started taking root in the Republican Party, they embrace their bad ideas, not the good ideas of Rand Paul, like maybe like legalizing weed, in his case, legalizing all drugs, and a non-interventionist foreign policy, and basically not having a surveillance state, that sort of thing. He was really calling out on these things and calling out against torture. And just recently, he turned out to be really base when he turned against the death penalty. And I think he kind of was not too fond of the death penalty, but I think he decided to take a firmer stand in the last few years. So, but he used to work with Dennis Kucinich of Ohio, and who was one of the most left-wing members of Congress. His district is roughly the district that was stolen by Chantel Brown against Nina Turner about a month ago and last year. But having that said, Dennis Kucinich was one of the most aggressive anti-war voices in Congress, basically consistently in the way that Tulsi Gabbard was consistent, as imperfect as she is these days. Dennis Kucinich is still, he still has a very good set of politics and hasn't deviated. Thank God he hasn't. But anyway, Ron Paul and Dennis Kucinich used to work very closely together on foreign policy and some domestic civil liberties issue. And that was the kind of consensus I was glad to see all the time. And, and that was like one of the healthier times when you could say that progressives and libertarians were working together for a common cause. Yeah, one could say on the left's terms, and in Ron Paul's case, on libertarians' terms. But Trump derangement syndrome came in. But even with the Trump presidency, it was so fucked up and so dysfunctional and so crazy and chaotic that people crave normality. So Dementia Joe came back. And from vice presidency, he became the president in this country. And it's dysfunctional as hell and everything. And, I'm not sorry I voted for Howie Hawkins. I'd do it again. I mean, in regard to the choice of Joe Biden, y'all know my situation. Bernie was my choice. Stolen. You're going to hear me talk about Bernie forever. But, and I apologize. But having all that said, I'm going somewhere with this. Yeah, so Dementia Joe, as I said, with the Afghanistanian pullout, good. Somalia, bad. Trying to go and rattle the sabers against Russia just to appease Hillary Clinton, bad as well. Very, very bad. Very disappointing. But as far as the consensus, even in modern times, there was some consensus, like having Bernie Sanders of Vermont. And speaking of Bernie Sanders, actually, I was going to talk about AOC and Bernie Sanders in a moment, but I got their photo up too soon. I am so sorry about that. So anyway, I will reference them in a moment. I'm sorry about that. I hit the wrong slot. I need something a little more sophisticated than what you call it, StreamYards. Okay, Bernie Sanders and Mike Lee. Bernie Sanders of Vermont and Mike Lee of Arizona, Utah, worked together to put a stop to weapons sales to Saudi Arabia, where there's a genocide going on. And it's amazing the two-party consensus in this country. There's always a consensus for more war. It's like a big old neoconservative circle jerk for always more war. And so with Bernie Sanders and AOC, I am a little bit disappointed. That's an understatement about they're voting for funds. Speaking of Bernie Sanders and AOC, for military aid to Ukraine. I mean, and all that is really going to do is just appease our domestic defense contractors. And that's really what it's all about more than anything else. And so, while I'm kind of disappointed with the squad and Bernie Sanders over that, I think that when I hear certain people on my side of the fence, on the left, I don't have a problem commending Ron Paul's son. Is what I would expect Rand Paul to do, is to block the $40 billion aid like he did. I would expect him to do that. I would expect him to do that for the positive reasons. But to commend Marjorie Taylor Greene for doing this. Marjorie Taylor Greene voted to stop the $40 billion funds to the Ukraine. And it was not out of the goodness of her heart. It was not because of the baby formula crisis, the shortage crisis that exists. Because if it was, she would have voted for the relief for families with this baby formula shortage that's taking place. So, and also, she's contrarian. You know, if Biden decided that he was going to be pro-choice on abortion, pro-life on abortion, she will probably turn pro-choice. I mean, she's a contrarian. She's a partisan hack. And anybody on the left that's going to go commend her, please do not do that. There are just some people that to not be commended in any capacity. I don't have a problem with people who have opinions or political positions that's diametrically opposed to mine, that if they are a stop clock given the right time twice a day, to commend them for it. Marjorie Taylor Greene is a no-go. I mean, she is as much of a no-go as David Duke, as far as I'm concerned. As far as I'm concerned, and she's that far gone. So, when I hear certain people do that, I'm like, it's all crazy. But speaking of contrarian, with the Trump derangement syndrome, I used to like Rachel Maddow. I used to watch Rachel Maddow on MSNBC at one time. Yes, I was a shit lib. I used to be a shit lib. I may still have some shit lib tendencies in me, but I have moved away from this shit lib mentality. And it's just really nuts that this TDS, this Trump derangement syndrome, has poisoned the minds of people on both sides, that they end up being contrarian, because she was denouncing Bush and Cheney nonstop during the Bush-Cheney years, to the point where people like Michael Savage was calling for the Bush administration to have her arrested. I'm not kidding you. Savage Nation. Yeah, Michael Weiner. Yeah, that's the perfect name for him. Michael Savage called for the arrest of Rachel Maddow. Well, when Donald Trump became president, what was seemingly a slightly more dovish position on Donald Trump's part, appearing that way, she decided to take a contrarian view, and she started to all of a sudden sound like a Bush-Cheney era neocon. And, just like, I can't handle this anymore. And she is nuts with this Russiagate thing. And I just, in spite of what's going on between Russia and Ukraine, to this day, I have never bought into Russiagate. Never. Absolutely never. But it's not just Rachel Maddow. Not at all. Not one bit. It's not just Rachel Maddow. Hold on. I accidentally took that person off. I'm sorry. And culture is just the opposite, but the same in regard to Rachel Maddow. During the Bush-Cheney years, she was pro-torture, pro-surveillance state, pro-war. Everything that Bush and Cheney were for, she was for. And she thought that everybody who was out in the streets protesting against war were a bunch of traitors and evil and everything. So, and then now she's all of a sudden a non-interventionist. And I'm hearing a lot of conservatives say, well, hey, she's a non-interventionist now. And all I got to say is, if she means it, good. But I don't believe her. She's a grifter. She grifts. And I get so tired of people saying, well, only people on the left grift, people on the right grifts too. She's a grifter. She's a faker. And I'm sure that when Ron DeSantis becomes president, he becomes pro-war, she's going to become pro-war again because, and culture is a hack. Now, she's a hack that's less crazy and maybe even more pleasant than Marjorie Taylor Greene. But, Attila Hun is going to be more pleasant than Marjorie Taylor Greene. An industrial accident with screeching metal scraping to the point where your ears are just bleeding because the noise is so loud, it's going to be more pleasant than the voice of Marjorie Taylor Greene. So, that's what it comes down to right there. But the point I'm trying to make is that really, when it comes down to it, there are people who are contrarians and grifters, and they're going to go and take a contrarian and grifting point of view just to be a hack, and that they know no better. I've always been consistent, or try to be consistent, to the letter of the law, and I will remain as such. Now, having that said, when you have Hillary Clinton and Dick Cheney, Liz Cheney, George W. Bush, and Condoleezza Rice and Joe Biden and Lindsey Graham, even Donald Trump now, because Donald Trump's been hawkish on this Russian thing. He was kind of right. He was actually kind of hawkish during the presidency with the blessing of Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi. Honestly, and he was still called a pro-Russian asset during his presidency. He wasn't, But with all that being said, they're all on the same side, and they all want more neocon wars to distract from our nation's problems. They may put up a dog and pony show of how much they hate each other on the TV shows and on the floors when you watch this shit on C-SPAN and all that, but they're really all on the same side. They got the same donors. They go to the same cocktail parties, and they may have some disagreements on some social issues, but they're united with what's in their wallet, and they could really give a damn about the rest of us, and that is honestly the truth. So, anyway, we have here Les Bones. How are you doing? You're up late too, I see. Let's see, 9/11. Hey, hot retarded chicks, how are you doing? Journey, hey, great phone call we had yesterday, or actually at this point, officially day before yesterday. Let's see, hot retarded chick says, fuck. Yep, let's see. So fucked up, man. The world is very fucked up. Neocons are so fucked. They are a cancer. Let's see, too fucked to be true. Yep, very much. They just haven't gone away, So let's see. Same can be said about Biden's work to reelect a Republican majority. Yeah, he wouldn't even really mind, because Biden doesn't mind, because he's used to working with people on both sides. The only thing I may feel a little sympathy for with Joe Biden is that when he was a senator, he knew how to go around and to wheel and deal with people. And it was even when it was a little bit contentious during the Bush-Cheney era, it was more chill than it is even now. And so he had this delusion that he was going to kind of be able to work with people behind the scenes and do the wheeling and dealing and use his, just kind of exchange pleasantries and all of that. Those days are gone. Let's see. Torture is gay. Well, torture is terrible. Let's see. Tulsi is perfect. Well, Tulsi looks perfect. But I would even say Bernie Sanders has taken positions. They're not positive sometimes. Even I've been critical of Bernie Sanders lately. So, and Tulsi's not wrong right now when it comes to the foreign policy. I mean, she's been very correct about the possibility of nuclear war and all of that. And you know, and she's kind of seen as an eccentric crank. And so a lot of people either want to be triggered and be mad at her or make fun of her. And even when I am a little upset by some positions that she has and embrace and maybe a changing of some positions, and I make that clear. At the same time, I acknowledge that when she takes up a very good position, and I will acknowledge it as such. And I mean, I still would say that I still believed that Tulsi Gabbard was trying to be Bernie Sanders' running mate 2 years ago. You know, at this point, 3 years ago, when she was announcing her candidacy. And I think there was a combination of Hillary Clinton attacking her, the media attacking her, and just and maybe even some of the progressives on the left that attacked her. And being a veteran, she had a friendly audience with some of the more conservative leaning people, and I think she went where the affection is. I just wish that she could have gone third party and gone with the maybe Green Party oriented left and all that. Anyway, let's see. I just that's what I just think. So it's kind of a shame what's happened. So anyway, let's see what we got here. Entered Dementia Joe. Isn't that the truth? Doing good. Yeah, I'm up late today. Well, it is the weekend. So if y'all like what you heard, press like and comment. Hit that like that button, and that dislike button doesn't work anymore. If you don't like it, well, of course they don't have that don't like button anymore, like I said, but still comment anyway. We'll have a conversation. Share the content on this channel and any other videos I may have that's relevant. As the First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you to create your own platform and utilize it, because we are the muckrakers of our time. Feel free also to subscribe to this channel, hit that notification bell, and I'm about ready to go to bed right now. So until next time, remember, we have a class war to wage, because there's no war quite like the class war, and we must fight against all wars. We must also fight for civil liberties. We must fight for racial equality, tolerance, all that, all the beautiful things in life. We also must fight for freedom of speech and freedom of the press, which always brings me to this subject, because of course we're all Julian Assange at the end of the day. And this is where I say to you all, music. And I will talk to each and every one of you next time. Thank you for showing up and bearing with me this evening. Take care. Bye-bye.